Good morning, I'm Renee Summerhour with the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and we are waiting for a court hearing here in just a moment. The suspect, again, the arraignment of an officer's death, the suspect of the fatal shooting of the Nevada Highway Patrol sergeant is expected to be arraigned. 66-year-old John DeBritz faces an open murder charge in the March killing of Sergeant Ben Jenkins. Now, Review-Journal reporter Rio Lockenlally has been following this case from the start. She joins us now. Rio, you and I were speaking just shortly before this. Tell us what you expect for this arraignment.
Sure. So what an arraignment essentially means is that the defendant will answer to the charges that he faces in this case. So in addition to open murder, he is accused of third-degree arson and grand larceny. So it's anyone's guess what exactly will happen today, but I'm thinking he will likely enter a not guilty plea, only because his defense attorneys have said they intend to use the insanity defense at trial. And this is a capital murder case. So if after the trial he's convicted of murder, Mr. DeBritz could be sentenced to death. And just in November, the prosecutor on this case said he still intended to seek the death penalty.
And again, you've been covering this story. We have body cam footage. We have, a lot of video that's very alarming to this case that I'm sure they're going to be using. What has your experience been like covering this story? What have you been hearing from public, from officials, just regarding this murder?
It's hard to say because a lot of what we know, a lot of what I've found out about this case has been through open records requests. And with that body camera footage, we saw that for the first time just a few months ago in November at the preliminary hearing. So between March and November, it took quite a few months to even get this a more clear picture of what exactly happened that morning and how it unfolded. But Mr. DeBritz underwent court-ordered psychiatric treatment in connection with this case, and so it seems like the defense attorneys think they have a pretty strong case as far as their insanity defense. He's diagnosed with type 1 bipolar disease, and I've spoken to his ex-wife, who also has told me that he has long suffered from this mental illness in addition to alcoholism. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
Very interesting. Thank you for giving us a little bit of that insider for us, Rio. Let's go live now to the Zoom call of this arraignment as we stand by to hear what the teams have to say.
Thank you.
I may trip over this cart, but then I'll get back up. I'll be on the floor.
Welcome to Blue Jeans. Please enter your meeting ID or audio code followed by the pound or hash sign. You are now being placed in the meeting.
Okay.
Muted on entry. Press star 4 to unmute.
Okay. I think what I need to do is. Okay. Okay.
You are now muted. Press star 4 to unmute.
Mr. DeBritz, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, so we are still standing by for the arraignment in the officer's death here. As soon as they get started, we'll go ahead and let you know. But 66-year-old man is accused of fatally shooting Nevada Highway Patrol Sergeant in March. That is John DeBritz, and is expected to enter a plea in the capital murder case this morning. John DeBritz, he is being charged with open murder, third-degree arson, grand larceny of a motor vehicle, and grand larceny of a firearm in connection with the March 27th killing of Sergeant Ben Jenkins, a married father of 4 with 5 grandchildren. Now, the defendant, who has been in custody in Northern Nevada Correctional Center as he awaits trial, is expected to appear at arraignment. Right now, you've seen photos of him at the White Pine County District Court, and of course, this is all happening via teleconference as we continue to wait for that. If convicted of murder, DeBritz, who was diagnosed with type 1 bipolar disorder, could be sentenced to death. And, you know, we've been following this story. RJ reporter Rio Lockenlally has been following this story, and she kind of gave us some insider information before this, saying that, you know, she believes that the defense team or his team will try to bargain for a not guilty plea, and will be citing some medical issues as their defense, mental disorders as a defense in this case. So as we continue to wait via video conference for that announcement, we're going to kind of take you back on some of the details of this story. Now, in the days following the shooting, the Las Vegas Review-Journal learned that DeBritz had long suffered from bipolar disorder and alcoholism, and has spent the weeks leading up to the shooting on a somewhat paranoid quest to warn people of his theory that COVID-19 was spreading through water and sewer systems. Again, go to lvrj.com. You will be able to read this entire story. We have a laydown there for you. We also have body cam footage that was obtained for us last year around November of this incident, of what really happened. A lot of the information we have been getting has been through police requests and different forms, but we are getting our first look really of Mr. John DeBritz here as he awaits for his arraignment at this time. But again, you can go to lvrj.com. Don't forget to download our free RJ mobile app. You can pull the story up right there and get all the information you need that has led us to this point right now. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
Mr. DeBritz,
Yes.
our sound quality is really low in here. So I'm gonna just need everyone to stay connected, and I'm just gonna end this and log back in real fast. Okay.
How's that?
That's a little better. I'm going to see if I can enter this code.
Welcome to Blue Jeans. You are now being placed in the meeting.
Okay, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, I think we're ready now. All right. Can you see us okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so as we continue to wait for the arraignment of John DeBritz, I'm bringing you more details regarding this story. If you remember, the 66-year-old man is accused of fatally shooting a Nevada Highway Patrol Sergeant, Ben Jenkins, on March 27th. As they get prepared, court documents obtained by the Review Journal reveal that prosecutors believe DeBritz had shot Jenkins to, quote, avoid or prevent his arrest in connection with the Wells and another shooting apparently described by prosecutors as an act of terrorism. We've been covering this story since it happened and have been obtaining a lot of papers from different officials covering this case, including defense and prosecutors. But what we also have is body cam footage of this incident when it happened, and you can find that on our website, lvrj.com. As we continue to follow this case, Rio Lakanlali, who is our crimes reporter, among other things, she has been covering this case in detail. And so, again, you can go to our website, reviewjournal.com. You can also download our free RJ mobile app and get this information sent straight to your phone. As we continue to follow this story, if convicted of murder, DeBritz, who is diagnosed with type 1 bipolar disorder, can or could face the death penalty. Let's stand by and listen in.
Okay, I don't think anything is muted, just so that everybody knows. How's that seem? You there? September, James, let's say, September 21st to November 12th. September 21st to November 12th. You want me to keep you on the phone, Rich, or are you going to jump on the solution?
All rise. 7th Judicial District Court of the State of Nevada, in and for the County of White Pine is now in session. Will Steve L. Zabreski presiding. Court's in session, please be seated. This is case number CR 2004035, State of Nevada versus John DeBritz. Mr. DeBritz is on the video monitor with phone audio, I believe. Mr. DeBritz, can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can, sir.
All right, I can hear you very well. And so if as we're going through this you can't hear or you miss something, just raise your hand and we'll make a note and then we'll come back to it. All right?
Okay.
All right. So Mr. DeBritz is present and represented by Ms. Pickering, who's present in court. Is Mr. Sears on as well?
You should be on the blue jeans, Your Honor.
Okay, I see Mr. Sears. Can you hear me, Mr. Sears?
Yes, I can, Your Honor, loud and clear.
All right, and could you hear Mr. DeBritz?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, very good. Likewise, if something cuts out and you can't hear your client, then please raise your hand. We have Ms. Pickering here. We'll know also as well. And this is the time and place representing the state is Mr. Beecher, District Attorney for White Pine County, and Deputy DA Mr. Weevil. And this is the time and place set for arraignment. Are the parties prepared to go forward?
The state is, Your Honor.
Yes, the defense is, Your Honor.
All right, so Mr. DeBritz, the case is captioned State of Nevada versus John Leonard DeBritz. Is that your true and correct name?
Yes, it is.
All right, all proceedings will go forward under that name. And what I'm going to do is summarize the allegations contained in the, well, first of all, we have a motion that was filed this morning for leave to amend the information. And pursuant to the motion, I read the affidavit and it alleges that they are striking towards shoulder, page line 26, and inserting the word back. Mr. Weaver?
Thank you, Your Honor. We have also added names of the witnesses that we understand at this time to that information. That was also, that motion and amendment was done during the preliminary hearing. This is just housekeeping. Official charging document. I do have a copy of all information in my hand. If I can approach and file those copies if that motion is granted.
Right, I know, defense has looked at it, but Mr. Weevil, that's the only, the amended information.
Correct, Your Honor.
Is there any opposition to the motion?
States that they're changing page 1, line 26. I think that is page 2, line 1, in the back end or head. See the recommendation that you have no objection to that, Your Honor. It is a correct confirmation of what occurred at the preliminary.
Okay, so the motion is granted, amended information. And so, Mr. DeBritz, what I'm going to do is go through this amended information, summarize the allegations, and then with the assistance of your attorney, you can offer your plea. Can you still hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
Get some kind of feedback. So we'll just go forward. So count 1 charges open murder with the use of a deadly weapon. They allege that you did on or about March 27, 2020, willfully and unlawful deliberation and premeditation, and with malice aforethought, kill another human being, Benjamin Jenkins, by shooting Benjamin Jenkins with a firearm, a deadly weapon, in the back and or the head, causing Benjamin Jenkins' death, at or near US 93, mile marker 106 in West. With respect to count 1, what is your plea?
Is this where I do not guilty by reason of insanity?
Correct, yes. Simple not guilty will work, John.
Not guilty.
The record would so reflect. Count 2 charges grand larceny of a motor vehicle valued at $3,500 or more by willfully and unlawfully stealing, taking, and carrying away, driving away, or otherwise removing a motor vehicle owned by another person, a patrol truck owned by the Nevada Department of Public Safety, Nevada Highway Patrol Division, valued at $3,500 or more, with the intent to permanently deprive the owner thereof by driving the vehicle from its parked location at or near US 93 mile marker 106, till defendant crashed the vehicle in a ravine, causing the vehicle to become immobile, all in White Pine County. So with respect to count 2, what is your plea?
Not guilty by reason of insanity.
Guilty, the record would so reflect. Count 3 charges grand larceny of a firearm, and this alleges on or about March 27, 2020, that you willfully, unlawfully, and intentionally stole, took, and or carried away a firearm, a Sig Sauer brand pistol owned by the Nevada Department of Public Safety, Nevada Highway Patrol Division, possessed by Benjamin Jenkins, with the intent to permanently deprive by removing the firearm from Benjamin Jenkins' person at or near US 93 mile marker 106, and leaving with the firearm, all in White Pine County. So with respect to count 3, what is your plea?
Not guilty by reason of insanity.
Not guilty, the record would so reflect. And count 4 charges arson in the 3rd degree. This alleges that you did on or about March 27, 2020, willfully, unlawfully, and maliciously setting fire to or burning or causing to be burned or procuring the burning of a personal property, a 2020 Ram 1500 truck owned by Enterprise Rent-A-Car, a subsidiary of Enterprise Holdings, Inc., having a value of $25 or more, by setting fire to or burning or causing to burn said truck at or near US 93, mile marker 106 in White Pine County. So with respect to count 4, what is your plea?
Not guilty by reason of insanity.
Guilty, the records would so reflect. So next, counsel, before we go to the next part of it, do you want me to advise him and summarize or read the notice of intent to seek the death penalty, counsel?
Yes, please, Your Honor.
All right, so Mr. DeBritz, in addition to the charges that are alleged in the amended information, the state has filed a notice of intent to seek the death penalty in this case, and they have allegations in there that I'm going to read to you as well. These are the alleged aggravating circumstances that would put this into the realm of a death penalty. 1, that the murder was committed upon a peace officer who was killed when engaged in the performance of his official duty, and the defendant knew or reasonably should have known that the victim was a peace officer. The evidence of this aggravating circumstance will consist of testimony and physical evidence that, on the date of his murder, Benjamin Jenkins, employed by the Nevada Highway Patrol, the Nevada State Troop, a peace officer, he was in uniform, driving his Nevada Highway Patrol vehicle, traveling to the location of a wide load escort, which was in the performance of his official duty. When he stopped for a motor assist, which was in the performance of his official duty, he was engaged in assisting the captured defendant when the defendant murdered Benjamin Jenkins. 2, the murder involved the mutilation of the victim. The evidence of this aggravating circumstance will consist of testimony and physical evidence that, on the date of Benjamin Jenkins' murder, after the above-captioned defendant murdered Benjamin Jenkins, said defendant dragged the body of Benjamin Jenkins to the vehicle the defendant was driving and poured accelerant on the vehicle and Benjamin Jenkins' murdered body, then ignited the accelerant, burning the vehicle and the body of Benjamin Jenkins, mutilating it. 3, the murder was committed upon a person at random and without apparent motive. The evidence of this aggravating circumstance will consist of testimony and physical evidence that, on the date of his murder, Benjamin Jenkins was employed by the Nevada Highway Patrol as a Nevada State Trooper when he stopped for a motorist assist and was engaged in assisting the above-captioned defendant, that defendant murdered Benjamin Jenkins. Time when Benjamin Jenkins was training or investigating the defendant for any crime, there was no prior negative contact between the defendant and Benjamin Jenkins. The defendant and Benjamin Jenkins had been cordially non-confrontational with each other just prior to the murder. 4, the murder was committed with the intent to commit, cause, aid, further, or conceal terrorism. The evidence of this aggravating circumstance will consist of testimony and physical evidence that, prior to the murder of Benjamin Jenkins, the defendant, through the use or attempted use of sabotage, coercion, or violence, intended to cause substantial destruction, contamination, or impairment of a building or infrastructure, communications, transportation, utilities, services, natural resources, or the environment by shooting with a firearm, damaging an electrical box maintained by utility provider Mountain Wheel Power at or near the ground near Ely, Nevada, and/or by shooting with a firearm, damaging a green transformer box at the base of a wind turbine maintained by utility provider Pattern Energy, located at or near the Spring Valley Wind Farm near Ely, Nevada, and/or by shooting with a firearm a propane tank and/or tanker truck, a transportation near Wells, Nevada, and that the defendant murdered Benjamin Jenkins with the intent to aid, further, or conceal those acts of terrorism. 5, murder was committed to avoid an unlawful arrest. The evidence of this aggravating circumstance will consist of testimony and physical evidence that, prior to the murder of Benjamin Jenkins, the defendant shot a propane tank and/or tanker trucks, a firearm at or near Wells, Nevada, then shot and caused to malfunction a railroad traffic control device at or near Wells, Nevada, blocking traffic, then traveled south towards Ely, Nevada, when he was approached by Benjamin Jenkins, who was attempting to assist the defendant. And in the course of the motorist assist, Benjamin Jenkins returned to his patrol for several minutes. On Benjamin Jenkins' exiting the patrol vehicle and approaching the defendant murdered Benjamin Jenkins during a lawful arrest. 6. The murder was committed while the defendant was engaged in the commission of or an attempt to commit a burglary and the defendant killed the person murdered. The evidence of this aggravating circumstance will consist of testimony and physical evidence that the defendant, having a disabled vehicle, murdered Benjamin Jenkins entering a vehicle, Benjamin Jenkins' patrol vehicle, with the intent to commit grand larceny of stealing said patrol vehicle, and driving the vehicle to the scene of the murder, intending to permanently deprive the owner of the vehicle. Now, Mr. DeBritz, with your not guilty plea, you need to set the matter to jury trial. Can you hear me all right? Mr. DeBritz, can you hear me all right?
I didn't hear that whole sentence.
Okay, so with the not guilty plea, we need to set the matter for a jury trial. And have you discussed your right to a speedy trial with your lawyers?
Yes, I have.
And so do you understand that you're entitled to have a jury trial within 60 days of today's date if the court calendar would permit that, or you can waive your right to a speedy trial and we'll set it out farther down the road. Do you understand that right?
Correct.
Do you have any questions about your right to a speedy trial?
No, I don't.
So do you want to have a speedy trial or do you want to waive that right?
My lawyers have tended me to waive that right.
Okay, they've talked to your lawyers about it and that's been their advice is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so you
Is
understand.
that correct? Is that correct?
Yes, that's been our advice, John, yes.
And you understand that the right to a speedy trial is your sole right. You can decide whether you want to waive that or not, follow your lawyer's advice or not. So is that what you want to do?
Yes.
Okay. So the record would reflect that he understands his right to a speedy trial and has waived it on advice of counsel. So prior to court, I met in chambers with Mr. Beecher and Mr. Weeble, Ms. Pickering, and Mr. Sears was on the telephone, and we discussed trial dates and the need for an extensive amount of time for this case, and so we came up with a trial date of September 14th, 2021. That in the beginning of jury selection. So we'll set that trial starting that date, and we'll take the calendar up until and including November 12th. We also discussed the need for creation of a juror questionnaire, which what we will do is I'll issue an order and have counsel submit questions that they believe should be in the questionnaire. The court will then put together a questionnaire and we'll have a hearing on it to see if there's issues about the ultimate questionnaire that we use. We will also likely pick a jury for 3 or 4 days to get the jury qualified for this case. What we'll do is what I'll do. After court, I'll go to the calendar and I'll come up with a date for calendar call checks. See what's going on with the case. We'll have several of those. We'll also have a motion cut as well. We'll do the calendar status checks just to see if there's any issues in the case as we go with discovery or other types of things that are available to witnesses. So anything else in this case at this time, Mr. Beecher? Mr. DeBritz, thank you.
Thanks.
Isn't that at 10?
I think they're going to.
Okay, so we just heard a non-guilty plea by reason of insanity from DeBritz and his team. The judge in this case saying that as far as his counts 1 through 4 for open murder, grand larceny of a firearm, grand larceny of a motor vehicle, and arson, he pled not guilty by reason of insanity for all of those counts. On the state side, it also looks like they're seeking the death penalty of a peace officer, and the judge did talk about how things played out and getting into detail about how records showing that Jenkins was placed in the vehicle that was set on fire. If you want more details on this story as we continue to cover this online, go to lvrj.com, and we will have an update for you this evening on 7 at 7 p.m. I'm Renee Summerhour. Thank you for watching.